All right, session 14 of Ignite, Win the Buyer. Thank you again for everyone being here. We're now into transaction. We started with sparking your career, embracing your job, really being a real estate expert, and that's kind of discovering your big why. We moved over to lead generation, and that is going to be the crux, the cornerstone of what you're building your career upon. Or once you get your cornerstone, once you get your cornerstone of why you're doing this and your vision, your mission, all that stuff, then you're going to build the rest of that house around lead generation. The walls of that home will be your lead follow-up and your roof. And finally, the roof of that home would really be your transactions. You know, all of, like you said, all the training requires lead generation. All the lead generation requires lead follow-up. And ultimately, all of that put together is hitting the $60,000 in GCI that Monica was talking about by the end of the year, and the $700,000 in GCI he's talking about in 2023. And whatever numbers you've set, Joseph and Moj and myself, the transactions is a byproduct of everything we spoke about. It's a byproduct of mindset, it's a byproduct of lead gen and follow-up, a byproduct of all the systems, all the campaigns, the social media marketing, all of it, but listening to people, working with them, saying no, that it's a bad idea to buy real estate. Hey, it may be a great idea for you to get you qualified. All of that, it becomes a byproduct of the transaction, right? So we're now in the third phase transaction, which you've heard me say this if you've been watching the videos or you've been live with us. I've shared that lead generation and lead follow-up is like 90% of the business, right? And one could argue some of it can be outsourced, maybe an assistant or so, but if all you did was lead generation and lead follow-up, let me move the picture here so people can see it. The transaction portion, the 10%, maybe even someone arguing 20%, can be delegated out, right? For the sake of argument, I'm going to say that we're all going to be doing our own transactions, maybe outsourced to the TC and so forth. And here we're going to hit on getting the working with A buyers. We talked about that in our lead follow-up discussion on Wednesday. You have your A pipeline, your B pipeline, your C pipeline. Your A clients, in this case, A buyers, are people who are buying now to within 7 days. Now to 7 to 10 days, right? That's kind of your window of right now clients. We get into getting the appointment, preparing for the buyer consult, conducting the buyer consultation, getting the signed BRE, and then off to the next, right? The right approach to close for a meeting is the only approach. Just ask for it. There's nothing wrong you can say to somebody if they're the right person. You know, basically saying just ask for it. I shared that one of the forward mindsets, Dr. J's sports agent. So Dr. J is a famous basketball player. So maybe you remember seeing him play and all that fun stuff. And his agent said, "Hey, Julius, what else would you want on your contract?" And Julius said, "Well, I want a chef, a full-time chef while I'm under contract with the Sixers, and I want a chauffeur every city I go to, right? Every place I play, I want a personal driver." And it was unheard of at the time. And all his agent did was just ask for it. And the ownership group gave it to him, right? There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He just put himself there to ask. And what I notice a lot of times, we just don't ask for the appointment. We don't ask for the deal. We don't ask for the business. And it just kind of slips right by our hand. So just get in the habit of asking is what I'm really trying to get at. We have Terry Lynn joining us.
What time did it start?
2 o'clock.
Oh, can I come?
Yeah, let's hang with us. Yeah. Here.
Oh, thank
Good to see you.
you.
There you go.
Thank you. Sorry to be, I didn't.
No, you're great. Yeah, you're solid. All right, working with A buyers. And remember, we defined what an A buyer is. As we work through our pipeline here, lead capture, working through our database, prepare contacts for conversion. That's really just finding out basis of conversation and then cycling through. We determined that an A buyer would be somewhere between now to 10 days of them seeing homes, getting qualified, seeing homes, writing offers. I would argue that an A buyer would be someone who's going to write an offer with us within a week, right? Maybe a week and a half. We meet them on a Thursday, they get pre-approved by Friday, they're out with our showing assistant or one of us on the weekend, and then we're writing offers on Monday. We're submitting offers Monday, negotiating contracts Tuesday. Maybe we open escrow Wednesday or Thursday, and then they're in the buying cycle, right? It's kind of like a 1 week deal. And then they kind of talk about here, leads to appointments. They go to the buyer consultation, or preparing for it, buyer consultation, finding a home, offer, negotiate contract, contract to close, post-close system, right? And then the post-close system is important. That's kind of like what you were sharing with me earlier about living off of a referral base. And that's what we do. That was what we come to embrace, right? And that referral base could be 20 transactions a year, 10 transactions a year, 40 transactions a year, different things for different people, and that whole process. Getting the appointment, respond right away to lead inquiries. Now, this is something I'm working on myself. Speed to lead is the message here. And that means like if you're doing KW ads, yes, it is kind of hard if they're popping in your inbox at 11 o'clock at night and when you get the alert, right? But maybe you build a certain time, even on the weekend, even if it's like it's 30-minute return call inquiry base, where you can return a call, message, whatever, in order to make sure that you're finding out they're hot and taking your temperature. Some people are just fishing, which is totally cool. People on their own sphere tend to fish a lot, and I'm fine with that. The biggest thing when it comes to that is there's still opportunities. And if they happen to be an A buyer, great. Get valid and complete contact information, save it to command and create an opportunity. I'm going to use number 2 and say if you use the KW command ad system, you're rock solid because it does capture name, phone number, email straight from social media.
Command ad system?
Yeah, if you're doing the paid ads through command under campaigns, if someone from Facebook, Instagram, or Google, or even Twitter goes through and hits your ad and asks for more information, automatically updates. Or in this case, maybe you have a Facebook lead from a friend that DMs you. Oh yeah, I've learned to just kind of clear my messages in the morning between 7:30 and 8, and then throughout the day I'll pick some time to post and reply to messages and comments and stuff like that. Determine their motivation to buy so you can speak to it. Now, if they say they're buying, find out if they're an A buyer, and that is, hey, what is your timeline to make this move? Or what's your timeline to purchase this home? What's your timeline for? And people will generally have an idea if they're truly just like new to the whole process. Usually a C buyer is, well, I just started. I'm not sure how the process goes. I need to get my wife involved or my husband involved, whatever that is. That usually tells me they're going to be more of a B or a C, maybe a longer term project, right? And then go to your lending partner, your loan officer partner for the pre-approval. And sometimes the pre-approval it can come before you do the consultation, right? It just kind of depends on where they're at. A lot of times I might just have them meet the lender first, and the lender can tell me, hey, they're not even ready.
I mostly do that,
Yeah, they're like a year away. They need to save more money. They just started work. We can't use the income, blah, blah, blah. Set an appointment time and date for as soon as possible. Number 4 to that point would be sometimes I would just go directly to the lender. If I know they're kind of on the bubble, on the fence, it's just more of a Q&A situation to find out what the market's like. And I get an idea that, hey, they worked their same job for more than 2 years or same industry for more than 2 years. Basic question, hey, how confident are you, or how do you feel about putting 10 to 20% down on the house? And they might say, oh, we probably have enough for less. I've heard of these 3%, 5% down payment programs. Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. We could do that too, and then getting comfort level on their payment structure and stuff like that. 7 close appointment tactics. Now, this doesn't mean that you're doing all of them. I tend to do what Paul Morris does, which is a trial close. Like, hey, if we were able to provide.
That's what I, yeah.
Yep.
The trial close.
That's it. So the trial close is an if-then type of statement. So, Monica, if we were able to find you this house in this location for this price, is this something you would move forward with?
Right.
And then you might say, well, yeah, I mean, if it's all those items, then I'll go all in. Great. Well, would you prefer us to sit down with you and your family on this date or this date? And ahead of time, I'll have you meet my lender as well. And that's another way to get the lender involved in that process. If they're open to cross-qualifying, or if they haven't actually met with the lender to get through the process of finding out what's what. As much as possible, I would have them meet the lender ahead of me meeting with them on Zoom or in person, obviously before seeing the house. Though I will say in this market, because there's so many options, I have bent a little in terms of getting them into seeing a house ahead of them listing a house and stuff like that.
Right, maybe one or something.
Exactly, maybe one, right? Not a whole bunch,
Oh, no, no.
but maybe just the one that kind of
Like
gets it
one
to the
day,
door.
like one.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not even me, I'll just pay Brenda like $60, meet with client A in this location and kind of run it from there. Let's see here. Buyer objections to the appointment. They ask, there's questions that we ask, we empathize, we identify the real issue, offer solution, urge an agreement. Number 5, urge an agreement is interesting because the BRE is something that we kind of glossed over in the past. You know,
Right.
now a BRE is gold. Because when
Right.
our buyer, for example, has 3 houses to choose from. They already dumped one, so now they're choosing between 2. And check this out, though, we got an offer accepted for $800,000 on 3 houses.
Oh,
Right?
wow,
So we wrote an offer on a house in Arleta.
right,
2 of the offers ahead of us bailed. So the agent's like, pretty please, open
Right.
escrow with us. Then we had written an offer side by side with the house in North Hills, and the agent accepted our offer, right? We accepted our counter, it went up 15,000. And then an offer we had written before over in
came
Northridge,
back,
their escrow failed, Maureen's been following up with these agents, and the agent's like, hey, it's yours for 800,000, here's the kicker. The one in Northridge, you know, we offered 790, it's ours for 800. The commission is 2%, right? Commission on the other deal is 2.5. We didn't tell that to the client. We said, hey, we're gonna go to work for you, we're gonna get it.
right,
We told the agent, hey, we're coming up 800. Just so you know, is there a way we can get 2.5% and we're walking away from 2.5 on the other deal
right,
in order to bring them over here? And the agent agreed. So the agent
Wow.
agreed to increase the commission from 2 to 2.5.
wow,
And now our clients are deciding, do they want to buy for 800 for a slight fixture in Northridge, or a 200 or 800K, same price, North Hills, different neighborhood, not on the main street. My point is that the buyers now are just as good as listings were in the past. Now, with that being said, I will take a listing over a buyer anytime,
yeah,
because it's like taking the high ground. But now with our buyer relationship and winning the buyer, that is like a qualified buyer walking into the house. Every listing agent that sees your Supra pop will be calling you, will be texting you, will be emailing you for feedback, for, hey, what do you think? And your buyers right now, it's a great window of time, a lot of uncertainty on the listing side, and urging the agreement is like solidifying that professional relationship together, right? Offering a solution may be something as simple as finding out what their needs are and going and working backwards. Number 3, identifying the real issue. Is the issue the payment, or is the issue space?
right,
Is it being close to all the things that they want to be close to, like school, works, family, things of that nature? Empathize, you know, be able to relate to them and see. And something I just learned from Paul, and how he was explaining it. Empathy is being able to see it from another person's perspective. Yeah, I work on that as a husband and as a dad, you know. But in business, it's almost like seeing it from their perspective. Hey, this is all the money they got, right? Like, you know, what's
Right,
going
they
in
can't
and their
go
down
up,
payment.
right.
Right, and this is it. And then the payment per month, you know, sometimes I forget that we're in business, so we can actually dictate by our goal, plan, action, and results, we can dictate how much we make or not make, right? And for a lot of our clients, this is it. You know, they got their job at Valley College, wherever. They're kind of set in that income
Right.
for the foreseeable
Not gonna
future.
change, right,
Yeah, maybe 1%, 2% increases, and it's barely going to keep up with inflation. Maybe a spouse gets a job and now they get a new 50,000 a year or whatever it is. But for the most part, they're playing from the standpoint of, this is all the money I got. Joseph, you had a question or
A comment
perspective?
actually,
Yep.
it's been my experience that even when the buying clients, says, this is all the money I got, I know you should empathize, but they might not be telling the truth, or they
Oh,
may be objection. So you need to dig in a little bit. Throughout my experience through the real estate, I just want to tell you that sometimes people say that all I can afford is 700, and then I call the loan agent and increase it to 700.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So I just want to let people, don't get shut out by that. So they may be there may be reasons why they don't say it, maybe they try the opposite, but you can also maybe try to negotiate a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, it's the same thing when
Well,
you're
the
trying to get a
lender should
review
be
price.
telling you the max that qualifies.
Yeah, the
They
lender
should
will
be
tell you,
telling
hey,
you,
they're good
right.
for 9.
Whether they don't wanna spend 9, but you should know that, yeah, definitely the first, right away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and to that point, I mean, you know, we figured the math out for a client buying at 815 versus 800,000, that 15 or 10,000 was like a $40 difference.
Right.
With taxes and interest,
Mhm.
right, and principal. So, you know, do you really want to lose the house over $40?
Right.
It's not 10,000 in the pocket, it's
Right.
$40
Dollars
a monthly mortgage,
Right.
right?
And that's what you said, it's not saying 10,000, they only $40. Just breaking
Right.
it, only $40 a month, so it's expensive.
Right, and you know, and I get it, I mean, I used to be a financial advisor, so I get every dollar counts, and even when we're like trying to, you know, cut out fat, you know, what subscriptions are we paying for that we're not using, like Mojo or whatever. Okay, there's $128 off the top,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
so I look at those things and think, okay, well, we can shave it off. If we're working with a client buying a house, what can we shave off? Maybe a couple Starbucks, get a coffee brewer or something like that. And you can find all that out by asking questions, right? We start with the big picture of urging an agreement, but it all comes back down to the questions we ask, quality and listening for their signs and answers. Preparing for the buyer consultation, confirm, this is real 101 stuff, guys. Confirm the appointment date and time, confirm appointment location. On a buyer consult, to be honest with you, a lot of times we'll hit on, we'll really hit on using Zoom. You know, I mean, yeah, and unless you're like selling a house, and even when they're selling a house, I might still start on Zoom, believe it or not. I used to work with first-time home buyers before the pandemic, and we would just be at the office or Starbucks or the lender's office, or maybe their apartment, you know, stuff like that was kind of the norm. Thanks to the pandemic, our first meeting, if you're a client buying a house, the first time we might see each other face to face might be at the house that you're touring. Right? Because then we kind of just save the logistical time of driving back and forth, or sometimes your buyers might be out of area. I mean, they could be living in Boston and they're just coming down for the week to tour homes with you, and that's it. Right? Or coming down for the weekend and tour houses. So when it comes to location, be rather flexible. Other times I can paint a picture by just talking with them on the phone and having my computer up and then breaking down their options. The biggest one here is number 3, ensure all decision makers attend.
Yeah,
You know,
big one.
yeah, if they're married, you want both of them there, and if a parent's going to be involved, and I've fallen on that sword a couple times.
Yeah.
If there's a stepmom or mother-in-law or mom or whoever, and maybe a stepmom that's involved in the decision-making process, make sure they're there.
Right.
Hey, Monica, aside from you and Philip, who else would be a major decision maker in buying this next home? Oh, my mom, my dad. Oh, great. Are they going to be on the loan with you? No, but they're going to be big time decision makers because they need a space for themselves, blah, 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 blah. Right. Awesome. Or if you're speaking to someone like one of our teammates, Jessica and Natalia, have a client, you know, Elena, aside from yourself, and I asked this question, they looked at me like I was crazy. I said, Elena, who else, aside from yourself, who else would be a decision maker in this? Oh, I'm glad you asked. My 3 sons.
Wow.
You know, she's 72, 71, and she's got the 3 sons who are going to help be her decision makers and whether to sell the house and buy another house or whatever they're going to do. Right? They're not going to be on any of the documents, but they're still decision makers on that. So again,
the person initiating the contact with the agent is not the only person making the decision. So it could be the husband, or maybe the children, or maybe a significant other, or maybe even just a friend.
right,
And they'll say something in the best. So
100%.
it happened to me many times.
Right, and that's typical. That's going to be a typical thing for sure. Prepare, you know, complete the buyer guide. That's something you'll see shortly. Prepare the meeting space. If you're meeting here at the office, or if you're meeting even at Starbucks and trying to get a relatively corner spot, obviously on Zoom it's a lot easier. Review the lead sheet. That is your intake sheet. That might be something as simple as a notepad, or if you're punching in notes into command. But where they want to buy, all the pre-qualifying questions that you may have gone through. 10 service areas of the value proposition. These are 10 things of why they work with us. We do a needs analysis. connect them with our lender for pre-quality or for pre-approval, neighborhood information, home search, making an offer, negotiating the buy, vendor coordination, pre-close preparation, the closing process, and then the relationship after the close. I'm not sure I really have that in there.
Let's see that one.
I was going to take a picture because I don't.
Yeah, I don't see
Oh,
it.
interesting.
Well. Now we're putting
It
pictures.
would be,
Yeah, put it in there.
let's see here, it's not page 14.7.
That's all right.
We can take a picture.
We just take a picture.
Oh, it's not on here, holy smokes,
Yeah, Philip, don't worry about it.
Yeah. totally,
And just continue on.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And then look at the photo, screenshot if you're on phone or computer, if you're there, be Command Shift 3 for Mac users, fun times. Okay, so whenever somebody asks like, hey, why should I work with you? I can just work and buy it on my own, quote unquote. So this is just 10 reasons why you do it. The post close is more like keeping up with the market of the moment and taking advantage of all the things that are happening as the market evolves, right? Buyer guide content. And I did find the buyer guide. Mo, are you on there? Do you have
Yes,
a question? Or?
explain about the number 7.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, vendor coordination.
That would be working with a home inspector, confirming a home inspector retrofit, or on buyer side. Home inspector, maybe retrofitting at times. Obviously, the lender would be on the buyer side of things. Maybe transitioning utilities. Obviously, the buyer has to do all that stuff, but making sure that they're in contact with the right utility service. Maybe a moving company that you can refer or recommend. Maybe you're working with a cleaning company to come and clean the house before they get their keys. All that fun stuff. That would be like a vendor coordination.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you got it. Most welcome. Hey, buyer guide contents. You'll find this in a typical buyer guide. Now you could use the one that's already built into Command. They do have one under. It's under marketing or something. It's not campaign. There's like another page beneath it, and you can print out. It's a pretty cool binder. I mean, you can print out and get a good 40 pages for a buyer consultation.
Oh, really? That's in Command?
That's in Command,
Okay.
and then there's a version on Connect. But the one on Command you can edit with your information, logo, the whole
Oh.
thing.
Cool.
Hasn't been my thing to actually use one. I think early on I used the one that was in the old Ignite booklet, and I just had a simple like resume letter. And then when I found out that most people I was working with were just like, putting it aside, I just stopped doing it. Right, but that's my own failing. That was a choice I had made. But of course, if you wanted to, you can take all this in there. There it is, buyer command under template. So this is going to be under. Now, please do, but you're actually not good. This isn't what the tab looks like. It must be under marketing.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you can pull it from there. Awesome. This is the buyer guide. I'm going to flip right through it. And there should be, oh yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Templates.
templates and neighborhoods.
Yep, there it is.
Awesome.
So it's all in there. And if it's something you want to pursue, we can
Oh,
probably teach.
yeah, that's a really, can you go back?
Go back one. Let me move this out of the way. There you go.
Awesome. I get Monica to do the picture in my slide. That's even better.
Right.
It makes my day.
And then mental note to Monica and I, we'll talk to Josh about maybe working these aspects so we can use templates and neighborhoods for our team. This is kind of cool. If someone has an appointment they're going to, all you have to do is go online, prepare it, and then send a PDF or
That's so
something.
cool.
Yeah,
It's under marketing now.
it's under marketing, yeah. And then you would go into those slides and everything, you
Right.
convert them and
I've
print
never
them.
seen it.
Yeah, now I will say if you are gonna create ads or pages through, make sure you have like a really solid Wi-Fi service or internet service.
Oh.
Otherwise it lags like Canva. Like Canva's to me pretty slow, but Command tends to be a little faster because it's its own little pool. Home buyer guide, again, this is they have timelines in there. And you can reorder the timeline on Command. So if you're at Sonia's KW command class, you can ask her how to create and edit that. I tend to
Timelines on the buyer guide.
right. Then this one, home loans made simple. They have like a basic item, and then there you go, it's like, here's the website as well. Connect.com//page. Pearls Respa, so you do have some of the pieces here already. Buyer guide, your value proposition. And again, these are just things, you can edit your numbers, like
This is
command.
all in command.
Yeah, so command will actually pull your data
Awesome.
as your closers. So like, for example, if an agent is looking for Calabasas or Agora Hills, and your profile is tagged to Agora Hills as one of the service sites, they won't pull your data for how many closes you had in Agora, they'll just pull up your overall.
Like over career.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Great
I'll look
question.
it up.
I think they pull it within a year. So
Oh,
if you look yourself up on the referral database, it might be 1 or 2 years. Some are ridiculous. Like a few people I found in the Midwest were like hundreds of deals, and I thought, wow, that must be like a career thing.
But if you have low deals,
Well, okay, there's a filter for that, because
Okay, yeah.
sometimes agents that are referring out, they
right,
want someone that is doing less than 12, but
right,
knowing that, hey, this is white glove service, they're
right.
one-on-one with the clients and going
But if we
through.
don't want this to show up. 'cause
No,
that's
you don't
what
know, you
we
don't
talk
know.
about.
Totally.
That's a good point.
But in our market space, though, I'll be honest with you, helping 6 families is like crazy good. And it sounds weird, but when we're doing the forward mindset call,
Right,
at 10,500 agents at Southland Regional Association of Realtors,
Wow.
our top 10% averages 6 deals a year.
Wow.
And you're in the top 10% doing 6 a year. You're in the top, essentially 5% or the top 3% if you're doing 12 deals a year, right?
Wow.
So it's not like this magical thing. Unfortunately, that is the industry we're in right now. Just the that's what it is. So
well, I'm excited to go and find this.
yeah, absolutely. It's definitely worth the time. Conducting the buyer consultation. Now this is more of an affirmation. I'm knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients. They'll appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them as they buy a home. Right. So as we prepare ourselves for the appointment, we start with preparing your mind. Right. Everything else kind of comes over there. We're not going to necessarily role play welcoming the buyer. It might be depending on your location where you're meeting them. It's usually, hello, Joseph, it's nice to meet you. Hey, thanks for meeting me here. Really appreciate you guys. And we'll take a seat. As much as possible, you want to sit across from them. You don't want the bodies on 2 sides staring at you. I tend to do a lot of this on Zoom, so I usually see the couple there, or they might be on separate accounts or whatever. That's no factor there. Maybe if we were to role play Zoom etiquette, I'll do my best to not have the kids in the background. If I'm in our house upstairs, I angle my laptop so they don't
That's
see the
the
bed.
kids up for fun.
I see those crazy guys yelling and screaming and picking their nose and all that stuff. If I'm here at the office, I tend to not do an appointment here on the counter when people are having lunch and hanging out. I might just sit in the office. If I didn't have an office, I would sit in the lobby, which I've done before, and just use earphones, right? And you can kind of mute that out a little bit. So that's just kind of basic practices there.
I will say one thing that's
Mhm.
been an amazing turnover for me is for buyers and sellers who I've taken to lunch on a first meeting.
Mhm.
I almost 100% get them.
There you go. And that might be your value add, is meeting them
Right.
at home court
Yeah.
advantage and
Yeah,
building that rapport that way.
could be coffee. It doesn't have, I know people don't like, I know you guys don't
Yeah.
have time for that, but like even just, I think in person, I connect.
Yeah, and it's funny, before the pandemic, I would meet people for coffee. Easy at the office, we just had coffee, but if I did meet with them on a relatively limited budget, I would buy coffee.
Right,
And it wasn't like, hey, let's go meet at, Black Angus or something.
Right,
It was
right.
usually like Starbucks or
right,
Coffee Bean,
Yeah.
something relatively local, or a cool local coffee shop. We had some clients meet us in Highland Park, so they had all those cool cafes. Great, what's $20 to make sure they got avocado toast and coffee?
And a comment to get before working California.
Yeah.
Some of the brokers I work with didn't have office or they had a virtual office.
Mhm.
So it's good to ask a client, yes, I do have my office here in Calabasas,
Mhm.
what we can use, where you like, where would you like to meet? Would you like me to come to you, that's closer, we can meet at the Starbucks, if you'd like to grab, so give them the option to think.
Yeah,
Make that-
alternative choice, absolutely. Absolutely. And then on the buyer needs
What do you
analysis.
think, Max, okay?
On the buyer needs analysis, when you break this down, I mean, that's a beautiful kind of layout of questions. I tend to go, keep it simple, I tend to go for what's your must-haves, what are your 5 or 6 must-haves, what are your 5 or 6 must avoid? Like, I must avoid a busy street, I must avoid being across the street from school, I must have access to a park, I must have 4 bedrooms and 2.5 bathrooms at least, and the half bath, I can expand it into a full bath downstairs. You know, whatever those items are, right? The more specific, the better, and that's the point of the analysis here. But if all you had was like 15 minutes or 30 minutes to really dive deep, and
Right.
the key is to find your 5 must-haves, 5 must-avoids. Just
I just want to add one more thing to all those great questions, because 90% of my clients fall in that category. But one thing I'd like to add additionally, because my friend got a little older and he sold his property because it's 2 stories, you want to get 1 story because he has a need a person. I always ask the customer whether they have kids or they have elderly people like this, would you like to be on 1 level?
right,
Or would you like this? I think that's a very thoughtful question. That would be a good question.
totally. And so some they might want to live nearby an airport because they want to be able to travel more,
That's
right? Or accessibility to a certain freeway, even though you would think, hey, what about the traffic noise? To them, it's like beauty because they only takes them 30 seconds to get to a freeway entrance, who knows?
This is interesting.
Yeah, love letter versus liability letter. And the client love letter really can be a liability letter for the seller if they were to accept an offer on predisposed judgments of certain
Right.
people, certain
Right.
backgrounds and stuff like that. So the equal housing opportunity, when you do take the listing, or if you're working on the selling side with the listing agent on the other side, obviously, there is an option for the seller to say,
No letters.
no letters, anything sent, I do not want to see them, I do not want to read them. I don't care who's buying my home as long as it's a deal that makes sense. Fair enough,
But
right?
as a buyer, you would do it.
As a buyer, I still don't do it. I know I had clients send it to me and, you know, if they urge me to send it, I won't send it as one attachment. It'll be on the email, but its own attachment, and I leave it to the listing agent and whatever agreement they have with the seller
Right.
to present that or not present it.
Interesting. You don't do those.
Now,
Oh,
people, if my clients bring it up, hey, I read about this, what are your thoughts? And if they forgot about our consultation, because at the consultation, I tell them, hey, you know, you probably Googled or heard about client love letters. You know,
right.
let me give you a little background story. And I just tell them like how it's against equal housing opportunity, fair housing, and in a sense that if the seller were to pick it based on ethnicity and things of that
Right.
nature.
But if you just say like, I have 2 dogs and.
Yeah, I mean, I just, not even
It's
that,
not
I mean,
even
I just
about-
kind of leave it. Now, I might
Okay.
tell the client you know, as a listing agent, it's how secure are their jobs? You know, while we're in escrow, do they run the risk of getting fired or whatever?
That'd be something to write in the letter.
Yeah, or I might just tell you as a listing agent, hey, just some background on the client, they're one's a nurse, the other, you know, has to be
Right.
teacher, employed here,
40
employed
years,
there.
right.
Yeah, they've been doing the same thing for over a decade. This will be their first home, we got a handful of kids,
Right,
and they're gonna be moving from an apartment.
right.
Or they're gonna be moving from mom and dad's house, so we can kind of work out, you know, extra days if your clients need it. They're totally fine with it, but this is what it will take to help them, you know, make the transition, will make it easier for you guys. You know, and then if you want to really ask your client, great, but none of it's in writing. You know,
Right.
they don't have a picture of them, they can assume whatever they want by looking at the name, but, yeah,
It's just something you would email today.
no, I wouldn't even email, it's
Oh,
all
you
over
just
the
call
phone.
on the phone.
Yeah,
Okay,
That's part of the
interesting.
communication part of it. Yeah, again, you just don't want to open a can of worms. If it goes in
No,
front
I
of a
get it.
judge,
I get it.
they're looking at text messages, and they're looking at emails and, you know, all that fun stuff. I guess that would have been an aha on its own. Getting the signed buyer agreement. This is what we're gonna end on, is closing for the agreement. Closing for the agreement might be a part of our value proposition. So we're gonna go into your KW app, offer that as their search app. Now, interestingly enough, I started sending this app to clients and
Oh,
they'll
you
log
do
in.
that.
Yeah, so you customize it, and the moment they log in, their information gets updated or a new contact gets created onto command if you haven't done so already, right? So for those of us who save a contact under a nickname, this will supersede that nickname. It'll just create a whole new contact, right? What I've learned with it, it's not as user friendly. So I'm gonna go on record because it's being recorded that, hey, it's not necessarily the best app, but it's gonna get better. Right? And the more they use our products, the more we get to track. So when they're going through the KW app, I see all their parts, all the stuff that they're viewing on command. Right? Now, when it comes to searching, I do use our preferred MLS, Crispnet, through SRAR.
Cloud,
The cloud, which board are you with?
SRAR.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
I just use
My
that.
clients search on that.
Yeah, I just use that one, was it One Cloud or OneDrive
I know,
or One something?
yeah, I think it's one cloud.
One Cloud, okay, I use the one right through MLS, I started a drip campaign there, send it out, and that's what I
Paying for
use.
market leader,
Mhm.
which is a search. But I was considering dropping them and just using the app and KW.
Yeah, I mean, if I were paying for market leader, I'd probably let it go, only because I just use the
Yeah.
basic drip
Yeah.
on MLS, and then I use the, well, I don't use it, but I'll send them the KW app as a benefit option.
And then do you, like Sonia was saying, instead of having them sign in, you use their phone number as, sign in, create them an account with their phone number as the password, so that way they don't have to pick an agent.
Oh, that's interesting, because if they just punch in my name, I'm
Right.
automatically their agent.
But they don't even have to do it. If you do it for them, then you say, hey, I'm giving you this app, your password is your phone number, you can change it.
Oh, no, well, if you send them the app from your phone, you're
Yeah.
automatically their agent.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, it's tagged to you, and then when they share it with other people, you're their
Okay.
agent.
okay,
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's how that would go about. Lastly, I know they didn't cover it here, but the natural progression of the conversation is, hey, Joseph, thank you so much for taking the time today. If we were able to do all this stuff that we were talking about, do you feel comfortable moving forward with us as your preferred agent? Awesome. And then by that time I have my BRE, or I might have it in DocuSign, I shoot it over to them. And I let them know that the BRE would cover three most important things. It covers a timeline for us to be working for the extent of our professional relationship and finding you a house and getting you that house. So it'll usually map your timeline up to 6 months,
Mhm.
or if it really is a long-term thing, I might change it to a year,
right,
right? It gives a definite or a kind of a location, maybe LA County, Ventura County, depending where I know we're gonna be searching directly. And then the two major value proposition items that I identify is one, hey, any commissions paid is actually paid through our multiple list service. The seller will typically give a commission amount that's paid to our brokerage or paid from their representing brokerage to our brokerage. So in effect, everything that when you're buying a house, our commissions are paid through that purchase by the seller. Right? So the seller already carves out an amount on the purchase, regardless of what that amount is, or regardless of that purchase amount, a percentage of it is paid towards our brokerage from their listing brokerage. And then so effectively, the buyer is not paying us a check or writing us a
so
check
this
direct.
is the buyer broker agreement you're talking about?
Yeah, that would be the BRE, buyer's representation exclusive.
So
So,
if you don't put like, if the commissions, some people put if the commission's below 3% or whatever it is.
so I do have a number on there, so it specifically says that whatever is listed on the multiple list service is what we're compensated, right?
Oh, okay,
But then I'll put in there, if it's not on the MLS, right, if it's not listed on MLS,
right,
we charge a commission of 3.5%,
gotcha,
right? Now, granted, we've never enforced it. We've taken 2% from a client, we've taken 2.5% from a client, but that's after us discounting from 3.5 down to 2,
right.
or 3.5 down to 2.
But if it's like a 1% on the MLS, you just take it.
We've taken it, and then what we've done, so a few times, we've had the client pay us an additional 1%.
But you write that in your buyer broker.
Well, we wrote that a separate one, it became a closing cost for the client. But the client it was disclosed to the client up front, and they had to bring in extra.
That's what I mean, you put it in the original buyer broker, like the commission needs to be at least.
Right,
the minimum, right, no matter what the other side pays.
no, don't do that. We don't do that.
But
But
what do
we,
you do,
so when it comes down to a property that's on MLS
right?
and we're showing it, I do let the client know, like, hey, just at and this is I learned this from the other office because they did have a minimum. The minimum compensation was 2%. Right, whether we were on the listing side or on the buyer side, it had to at least be 2. Otherwise, we were paying our 30%. do you call it, our 30% broker split,
Right,
we were paying it as if on the missing 0.5% or the missing 1%. So there was a deal that right, so I don't know if Moj or Monica's still with us, but I would have to pay as if that commission was 2%, even though we were only being paid 1%.
right,
That only had to happen one time before I said, that is dumb.
right.
Okay, let me, on the next one, I'll make sure we get like a proper commission. So the time that we have shown 1% listings,
So you don't do that up front, like you're doing the
No.
buyer broker up front, but you're
Right.
not putting a minimum commission.
no, but I do put if it's unrepresented, like they're
That
not,
it's 3.5.
right,
That's
it's on
great,
MLS.
great. So
Yeah.
then they're not worrying about making a commission from whatever's in the MLS.
Right, because if it's on MLS, if it's two, I mean, the last market, we just ate it. You know, I
Right.
mean, that's just what it was. But in terms of, let's see here, it's still here, awesome it. Yeah, so one of the things is when the market was what it was, we just took it on the chin. You know, it's 2%, take it on the chin. If it's this market that we're changing into, if you get a little betsy, like I did with the other KW agent and said, hey, we're coming up
Right.
10K,
Right.
can we at least match the commission for the deal that we're leaving behind, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And we're not blocking the client, right? We're getting him everything he can get. I mean, we opened escrow and we didn't have to tell him about I mean, yeah, no, we need to tell him about the other deal, right? And I think some agents wouldn't have, especially after seeing a 2% commission versus 2.5 they're getting, 20,000 or 16, right? And some people kind of graded on that. We're not supposed to, and we don't, obviously. But what this whole thing started off was ask for the business, ask for the commission, ask for the deal,
Right.
right? Ask what's important to them, ask what's not important to them, and so forth. So yeah, the BRE covers that. And lastly, the BRE, once signed, covers, our insurance covers them. Total win-win.
Oh.
So without the BRE, they're kind of at their own mercy of their insurance, get hurt on property damage, damage to site. By them signing the BRE now, our auto insurance help covers them, our office
Oh,
insurance
really?
covers them, if we have personal insurance, it
I
covers
didn't know
them.
that.
Yeah, so the BRE now makes them an official client of Keller Williams.
That's
Calabasas.
huge.
Yeah. So if all else
They'll
fails,
all sign it for that.
yeah, I mean, it discloses how we're compensated, it discloses, you know, if you're gonna do a TCP and if Keller Williams added, yeah, we put that in there. $500 to our TC Morning Doyle, 149 or whatever it is, $149, like 99 and 75 bucks combined for the Keller Williams admin fee and the
Right.
compliance fee. You know, so they know going in, they're gonna pay $600+
Right,
and working with us, but they also know that Philip doesn't make any of that money. Right,
right.
so they know it's all for
So they're covered by Keller Williams, Calabasas, covered by our auto?
well, no, our personal auto, so when we signed up for the office, we're supposed to like name like the office
Right,
insured. So by naming the office insured, that also names them
Oh,
protected in that policy.
Okay.
They have to be riding with us and stuff like that.
okay.
Obviously, if they're riding on their own and get hurt, they probably
Gotcha,
9 times out of 10, they probably have their own insurance.
right,
But
right.
the BRE, it does make them protected under our umbrella.
And what is that, what would that cover? Like they bought a house and something's wrong with it?
No,
And what is that
when you
cover?
read through it, it's kind of like damages when they're visiting the property.
Oh, like
Yeah.
you damaged something?
They damage something.
Oh.
You know, like we have our own insurance, but it doesn't cover like them going through a
People are
property.
gonna
damage.
ask, like, we go through, they bring crystal vase.
Oh, well, yeah, and then our insurance would, you know,
Okay.
there's a whole process with it, but yeah.
Right,
it would
but
cover
that's
them.
what you're talking about.
Right.
Because I'm like, what are they covering? Okay,
Yeah, and also will damage the property, physical, I almost want to say personal, but I could be wrong about personal, but for the most part, our insurance, they're now part of our umbrella prior to escrow, prior to being under
Okay.
contract. So guys, hopefully that was helpful.
yeah. thank you
Next
so
week,
much.
we're gonna be getting some guest speakers on here to replace me for some of them as we get knee deep into writing the transaction and negotiating. But thank you guys for being
What
here
days are these classes?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 2 to 3.
Wednesday, Friday.
Monday.
Okay.